Hi, in this video, I'm going to talk about the simple present. Good. So in English, we have two verb tenses for the present. We have the simple present and the present continuous. So simple present, for example, I work from Monday to Friday. So we're talking about a general information. But if I use instead, I am working, that means that right now I am working. So this is the difference. But first, I'm going to focus on the simple present. Let me share my screen and I will show you a visual. Good. So as for the simple present, great, we have it here. I start with the structure. We have the affirmative, negative, and question forms. So if I use the affirmative form, I use the base form simply. You speak English. So always use the verb as it is. Like if I say they come here, I go to a place, to the restaurant, etc. So use the simple form. So here we have you speak English. And then don't forget that with the third person of singular, we always put an S only in the simple present. Okay? S or ES for certain verbs. Okay? That's why we say he speaks English. Same thing if we say she speaks English. And we pronounce the S also. Great. Now, in the negative, we will use the auxiliaries don't or doesn't. So don't, the contraction of do not. You don't speak English, always before the verb. Good. You don't go to work. They don't eat pizza, for example. Good. Only with he, she, it, we will use doesn't, the contraction of does not, right? So if you check here, he doesn't speak English. You notice that in speak, there's no S because the S isn't doesn't. So never double the S. He doesn't speak English. So we don't say he doesn't speaks. No. So there's no S in the verb in that case, right? In a question, at the beginning of the question, you will use do for everybody except he, she, it. We will use does. So do you speak English and does he speak English? Same thing here because does has the S. There would be no S in the verb speak. This is for the structure of all the verbs except one verb. Good. In a language, there's always an exception. So English is not different from the other language. The only exception would be with the verb to be, right? So with the verb to be, we never use auxiliaries, don't, doesn't, or do, or does. Instead, if I take the first example here, she is the manager. Good. It could be I am the manager or you are the manager, etc. You conjugate the verb to be. But in the negative, because you don't use don't, we will simply use not. So the verb plus not. She is not the manager. If I'm talking for me, I would say I am not the manager. Or they are not the managers. You are not the managers. Good. The verb to be plus not. Great. In a question, never use do or does. So we will simply inverse the subject and the verb. She is for is she the manager? Am I the manager or are you the manager? You see? So remember that only the verb to be works that way. But all the other verbs, talk, go, see, whatever, you use the previous structure with don't, doesn't, and do and does. Great. So this is for the structure of the simple present. Now we will check at the uses. How do we use the simple present? First, we use it for facts. Facts are something that is always true. Okay? If I say, I live in Brahman, this is a fact. Nobody can argue with me. Right? This is true. All right, so we have a list of examples here. I will have a look at it with you. So we are specialized in electric components. This is a fact. We are specialized in that, right? They work for a multinational located in Ontario. Same thing, we cannot argue with that. It's a simple fact. Mrs. Collin buys quality products. Because we have Mrs. Collin, we have an S in buys. It's like saying she buys quality products. I like to start early in the morning. This is what I like. We don't deal with suppliers from the United States. The machine doesn't work well. It doesn't because we're talking about it, the machine. He is not one of our customers. So he is not. You notice the verb to be, we only use not, no does. Good. Do you call the head office? We have a question, we use do. Does she have all the information to proceed to the next step? So we have a question with the third person of singular, with she, we use does at the beginning of the question, right? Are you aware of the new procedures? Because we use the verb to be in a question, we inverse. Are you for, you are for, are you? Right? Second use of the simple present. We use the simple present for habits or repeated action. So, well, habits are actually repeated action. It's something we do often or we never do, depending, right? All right, the receptionist starts at 9 a.m. and finishes at 5 p.m. from Monday to Thursday. So these are repeated action from Monday to Thursday. Every week, it's the same thing for her, right? Every summer, the general manager takes vacation on the construction week, construction holidays or construction weeks, right? So this is his habit. This is what he does every summer. Every Friday, we'll leave the office at 12 or at noon. You don't answer your emails after 5:30 p.m. So you have this habit, which is good. I'm not at work on Mondays. The verb to be, which is not. She doesn't place an order with us every week. Do you come to work on the weekend? Does he take some of his sick days from time to time? Question with he, we use does. And the last one is a question with the verb to be. Are they always on time? Right? All right. Now in the simple present, sometimes we use it to fixed schedules. Something that is already fixed. It could be an appointment that will come in the future eventually. But it's common in English not to use the future for a schedule, but it's instead, people will use the simple present to say that it's already fixed on the calendar, right? So don't forget the meeting is at 2 o'clock this afternoon. Even if it's future, we can use the simple present because it is scheduled on my calendar. Same thing for the press conference starts in an hour. What time do we have to be at the customer's office? The appointment is not scheduled for today, and the bus doesn't run at this time of the day. Good. All of those are scheduled, are in the calendar. Good. It's possible to use the future, but we can make the choice to use the simple present also. Good. So that was it for the simple present. So next time I will practice with you. Good. Bye-bye.